Carl, we are back again with another Wiki Weekends, and
Yes.
I wanted to talk about a different kind of spidery man.
Okay.
I mean, it's still a Spider-Man.
It's still a Spider-Man, but it's a different kind of spidery man. Is this Tarantula Man?
I wish it was, but no. We're going to be talking about Miguel O'Hara.
I was thinking, is it Miguel O'Hara? Because Into
Yeah.
the Spider-Verse 2 is coming out, and that man is out for fucking blood.
I've only seen the very initial teaser trailer and was like, oh, I know they're introducing Spider-Man 2099, and I don't know much about him other than he's from the year 2099, so let's find out about him.
Also, as well, that he delivers the choke slam of all choke slams. Like Miles Morales, he just we could talk about the trailer for the film, and we can no doubt put
bear in mind, I've only seen that very first 30-second one.
That first 30 seconds, where just Miguel O'Hara choke slams Miles Morales. It's like, what did he do?
Oh dear. So, do you know much about Spider-Man 2099?
I know that I don't like his costume. It's quintessential 90s nonsense of just, it's edgy for the sake of edgy. I don't know. It's inspired by Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos and stuff. I just don't like the spikes on the arms.
It's very kind of almost like that kind of Venom, Carnage, Spawn kind of vibe. Like the obviously like the black and reddish color scheme, like the very, as you say, angular designs on everything and the spikes and stuff. I will say that there was in the Spider-Man 2018 game, I think it was, where you got the 2099 costumes.
Mm-hmm.
There's like an alternate 2099 costume that I think looked a lot better with the white on it.
Yeah, it's that thing of, and I know someone else is going to be like, but I like it. It's like, yes, we were all 14 once.
Yeah, and you can like it if you want. You know, everyone has their own opinion, but I much prefer, for example, like the black and red, but in a bit of a softer design on Miles Morales.
Mm-hmm. It's that thing of, it reminds me of a time where comic books were so desperate to be taken seriously that everything was just grim, dark nonsense, and I hated it.
Had to be cool, Carl.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, it's not that it's not cool, it's that it was trying to be cool.
And there's nothing more uncool than trying to be cool.
But Carl, we have a quote here from Miguel O'Hara.
Okay.
And it's just, that'd be me, the Spider-Man of tomorrow, here to save today.
It's no, with great power comes great responsibility, is it?
It's definitely not, no. And
they're never going to top that line.
Oh my god, there's a lot of potential band names here when I expand the aliases section. So
okay, so let's go. Spider-Man himself has a lot of not great nicknames, but he has a lot of aliases because he's been in comics for so long. So I'm curious, what does Miguel O'Hara have? Give me some band names.
Band names coming in. Code names, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Editorial name is 2099. The new Spider-Man 2099, Spider-Man 2099 AD, so a bit impersonations, Spider-Man, but cool.
I'm noticing a theme.
Other alias is just the word 2099, or the year, I guess. 616 Miguel O'Hara. Try and find some. A wall crawler in a spider suit.
Okay.
Yeah. Another super. Blue symbiote. Downtown piece of trash.
Hey, I'm not mad at that. Downtown piece of trash. I'd listen to their album.
The greatest ninja warrior in the history of our program.
There will never be a greatest ninja warrior than that time they put a chimp on the ninja warrior course.
Yeah, 100%.
Where he so casually just goes through the entire course. It's like, yeah,
and just does it faster and harder than anyone ever has.
Does that mean that Spider-Man entered Ninja Warrior? That's broken. That's not fair.
I wonder if it is actually the Ninja Warrior program.
It sounds like it might be.
It does sound like it is, yeah.
And here's the thing as well. Ninja Warrior is awesome, but only the Japanese version. I hate the American version where it's too piss easy. And they have the sob stories. It's like, no, Matt, I don't care. Ninjas don't cry. Fuck you. Get in there and get it done.
So we got Harbinger of Thor, Interloper, Little Boy Blue.
That's kind of cool, actually. Because he's wearing the blue outfit.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. It is a blue outfit, but a lot of the interpretations of it are like the black with the little like light shadings of blue to mostly make it look black and red.
Yeah, it's dark blue, but the shading on it always makes it look black and red, which is very clearly that's the thing of like the edgiest color scheme is black and red, like Shadow the Hedgehog,
Edgy the Hedgy himself.
Yeah,
we got a few others like Spider-Man of 2099, Spider-Man of Tomorrow, Spidey 2099, Webcrawler, Webhead, Webs, Webslinger. So nothing great apart from the greatest Ninja Warrior in the history of our program. I like that.
Ninja Warrior is so good because like I said, the Japanese version where they don't give you time to introduce you as no fuck you do it.
Yeah.
Where the guy's like, I've trained my entire life to be a ninja. Like, go.
Physical characteristics: gender male, height 5'10", weight 170 pounds. Iris is red brown formally, so he's got the red eyes too.
So he's got red eyes. I'm surprised he's not got heterochromia.
Unusual features as well: pronounced canine teeth fangs, retractable talons on fingers and toes, spinnerets in forearms, and then red eyes following mutation. I didn't realize as well, Spider-Man 2099, like, as old as I am, essentially, first debuted in Amazing Spider-Man number 365 in June 1992, and then Spider-Man 2099 number 1, because they were clearly a hit, was then September 1992, so their own first issue.
Are you telling me that Spider-Man's a popular character, and that he's like any reimagining is also going to be? Because that's the thing. Like,
who would have thunk it?
What's your favourite reimagining of Spider-Man? Because I'm going to guess it's either Gwen Stacy, or Miles Morales.
I mean, those are the two obvious choices, aren't they? I think I really enjoyed all of like the Into the Spider-Verse characters. Like, the Spider-Man noir of just edgy Nick Cage in the background of every scene.
Wherever I go, the wind follows.
But yeah, I think design-wise, at very least, Spider-Gwen is my favourite. I think as well, a lot of like the sidekick characters like Silk look really cool.
Yeah, I think like Spider-Gwen as well showcases how like timeless the Spider-Man design is, because that design is such a radical departure from what Spider-Man looks like in his original incarnation, but you still understand it to be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Which I think highlights the strength of Spider-Man as a character, that you can change his design that much and it's still Spider-Man.
And even Spider-Man 2099, I'd say, is even more radical a departure, but you can still tell it's Spider-Man from both the costume and the strong posing that they have.
It's all about the pose. Like, it's one of the things I don't like about the Spider-Man PS4 games, that when you're previewing the costume, he just shows Spider-Man A posing, which he never stands like. Spider-Man never stands up straight in any.
He's got the bongo tech on the go.
He has. It's one of the things that I really dislike about the live-action movies, is that Spider-Man walks around too much as Spider-Man instead of crawling everywhere, which obviously they can't do because the actor can't physically move around like that, but in every bit of animated media and games and stuff.
I mean, looking at how, just flexible Tom Holland is, I wouldn't question it if he was able to do it.
I think it'd look weird in live action though, but I love
it
that.
Would, yeah.
The cartoons and the games, Spider-Man is always crouched down. And that's one of the reasons he's so difficult to fight, because he fights from a crouching position. He can, put his leg up.
We've got the origin of Miguel O'Hara over here, so I don't know if you know much about Miguel O'Hara.
Was he bitten by a spider?
Well, the character, not necessarily the Spider-Man origin.
Okay.
So Miguel O'Hara, an engineer of I read the first part of an engineer of Irish, and I was like, what's that mean?
He makes
so
Irish
he's
people.
An engineer, and he's of Irish and Mexican descent. I was made aware that he's of Mexican descent. Didn't realize he's Irish and Mexican. That's pretty cool. He was born after his mother Conchata had an affair with her husband's boss, Tyler Stone. Oh, just an affair baby. Though grew up believing his stepfather was also his biological father. So, bringing that very Spider-Man-esque thing of you don't necessarily have to be somebody's biological parent to be their parent.
It's a key theme of Spider-Man, isn't it? It's one of the... You can change his design, you can change his backstory, you can change his race, his gender, but the one thing you need to know is that he's got a very strong moral compass instilled upon him by a parental figure, not necessarily a parent.
Like many superheroes, he's got some form of, parent dying or parent, not being their actual parent, etc., etc. But it says here, as an adult, he worked for Alchemax. He was less than pleased at the corporation's vast control over the city, and he says he is a genius in the field of genetics, and he was being pressured by Tyler Stone to test a process to imprint genetic codes into human physiology. I wonder how he became Spider-Man there.
Yeah, I wonder why he's an expert on genetics. It was working. God damn it, Spider-Man media. It's like, when are we going to get a Spider-Man who just ate the spider? Do you know they say like you eat 8 spiders a year, which obviously is bullshit. It's made up. Before anyone says in the comments,
that's not a true thing. Yeah,
it was a made-up fact. But when are we going to get a spider who just ate a spider for a bet?
So it says he reluctantly tried the process first on a test subject named Mr. Sims. That's the name, but it was a failure, and Sims was transformed into a hideous creature and didn't actually become one of the rogues gallery. He just quickly died.
He just died. That's like that SpongeBob story in it. Of there once was a guy called Mr. Sims who was so shit he died. The end.
That was the last straw for Miguel, though. He went to Stone and attempted to hand in his notice. At that point, Stone gave a drink to Miguel, which, unknown to Miguel, had been laced with the highly addictive hallucinogenic drug that bonds to the victim's DNA called Rapture.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me, sir, I'm going to have to quit because I don't like killing people. Mm-hmm. And he went, no, how about I drug you instead?
How about I get you addicted to drugs?
As Alchemax was the sole manufacturer of the drug, of course, Stone expected that Miguel would be forced to remain with the company. And then, in an attempt to rid himself of the hallucinogen, Miguel decided to try the genetic procedure, which had killed Sims, on himself because, of course, as he had input his own original genetic code as a baseline. The process was sabotaged by super Aaron Delgato, and in an attempt to kill Miguel so that it would be covered up as an accident. Miguel, of course, survived the process. His DNA was spliced with the genes of a spider, and he gained several powers, though lost his addiction to Rapture. And I think it would have been a much cooler idea to keep him addicted to the drug, but he has the powers of the Spider-Man.
I think it would have been a much better idea if they pushed him down the stairs. I never get... Do you know, like, why is it... What is it with, like, supervillains? One of the most convoluted ways to kill people.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it's because it's visually dramatic and interesting, but if I was Mr. Stone, I would have just pushed Miguel down the stairs. Like, why do you need to give him a drug? Why don't you just beat him over the head with the bottle?
I mean, obviously, I guess because, they're a big corporation trying to make it look like he accidentally died. But again, oh no, he fell down the stairs.
That's really easy to get someone pretend someone fell down the stairs, especially when you work in a skyscraper. There's a lot of stairs.
And I guess we'll go straight into the bullshit that is the powers and abilities
of course,
here. Because...
that's such a convoluted way to give him his powers. But is it more or less convoluted than falling into a pit of electric eels?
It's such a sequence of absolutely comical levels of fuck you to Jamie Foxx's Max.
Yeah.
To get him to the situation where, on his birthday, as everybody else went out celebrating, he got told he's not allowed to leave. He's got to go sort out a problem to make sure that he's on his own when it all happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has to, instead of utilizing anything safe to climb on and sticking to safety procedures, which is exactly what that character would do, he, throws everything in the fuck you, I need to get a power up.
It's it's almost on the level of death scenes in Final Destination, of the amount of leaps in logic the characters have to make and the convoluted way in which they end up getting superpowers. I would have much preferred if just the eel fell on his head. It'd have been just as believable if there was just the eel fell on his head.
Anyway, and the eel didn't fall on this man's head. He imprinted the genetic code of a spider inside of him. I guess that means he has the usual Spider-Man suite of powers, which is superhuman strength, speed, agility, reflexes, superhuman stamina, superhuman durability. But we'll go to the power grid for a section. So we'll go to the power grid for a moment over here, and I I'm kind of like a bit disappointed, I guess. But like,
Yeah. So do you want to explain the power grid for people if they're not familiar?
Yeah, the power grid for anyone who's not familiar goes on an exponential scale of 1 to 7, of like 1 being roughly what a human could be, and 7 being godlike powers.
Yeah.
And Spider-Man's pretty much just a bit of an overall middle point, a bit of an average on the power grid, which makes him a very strong character, but not a god-level power character either.
Yeah, I think the one exception is fighting skills, which he's regarded as, with the addition of his spider sense, is almost unbeatable in hand-to-hand combat, because he can basically see any danger coming in. His superior strength and speed make him virtually unbeatable.
Yes, so it's very hard to take out Spider-Man just because of his like actual Spidey sense, if it's working. And the writers at the time haven't decided that, you know, he can actually be hit by a stray bullet in the leg when he's swinging.
It will never stop being annoying to me that they shoot Spider-Man in Amazing Spider-Man after establishing that he can't get shot. Like they have that shot of someone shooting him at point blank range, and he just dodges it really casually and goes like, "Whoa!"
And he's like, "Oh, this is really easy." But anyway, so on the power grid, Miguel O'Hara's fighting skills are actually just a 2,
which is not great.
No, and his energy projection is a 2. Then it goes up to a 3 for durability, and then all speed, strength, and intelligence are all a 4. So I think probably, from what I remember, not quite as high on the grid as Peter Parker is, but still an intelligence, strength, and speed of 4 is really very strong. When, as we say, it's strong, like exponential levels.
Like if you're like, you know, a street level hero, and just double check now, and Peter Parker's fighting skills are a 4. Which I wouldn't agree with, given that he can beat Wolverine, and Wolverine's a 7, but sure.
But I guess that's not just fighting skills, that's in combination with a power.
Yeah, in tandem with his fighting. Like, in tandem with his latent spider abilities, he is a good fighter, but he lacks the fighting skills natively that Wolverine has, I guess.
And one thing that they add here, which I would argue maybe his speed might want to be more than a 4, but I'm not quite sure how it works, is superhuman speed. He can run at speeds that are, you know, past the limits of a finest human athlete.
Okay.
But it says here that he also has an accelerated decoy. It allows O'Hara to move so fast he can leave behind a body double for enemies to attack. Well, that sounds pretty fucking fast to me.
That also sounds super broken OP, because if I'm in a universe where Spider-Man exists and has fangs, and then there's 2 Spider-Men with fangs, I'm done. It's like in that Spider-Man PS4, like the Spider-Man 2 for PS5 trailer, where it's like they see 2 Spider-Men coming in. If I'm a criminal, it's like, throw the gun down, I'm done. Take me to prison. I'm not fighting 2 Spider-Men.
I will say as well, it doesn't appear to mention Spidey sense for Miguel O'Hara here.
But it also doesn't mention his chokeslam abilities, which I'm super
It doesn't. It does mention that he has telepathy. He is shown to be able to communicate with others on a telepathic level. The full limits of his telepathy have yet to be explored. However, he's shown to easily communicate with others. It's believed his telepathy is an extension of his spider sense manifesting in a different way.
So instead of sensing danger, he can read people's mind and sense if they're going to attack him, I suppose.
So he does have some level of spider sense, but it's incorporated in a different way to make him stand out a bit more.
It also means that he can probably be hurt by things like getting hit by a bus, because the reason Spider-Man's so unbeatable is that it warns him of abstract threats like, you know, falling debris and things like that. Whereas he can only warn him people.
If a goon in the room down the corridor that's coming his way has got a gun or not. It's crazy levels when we've covered it in the past, but
it protects you when he plays poker.
Only when he's playing poker without his friends.
Yeah, because his friends don't. It doesn't work when his friends do it, which is great. Because that's how like. And then Venom, which is where you always have Venom like sneak up behind him, which is hilarious.
Yeah, because Venom is in the way that Spidey sense works, because Venom fused with Spider-Man. Spider-Man can't see Venom as a threat because it's him, so Venom can just sneak up on Spider-Man. That's the excuse. But good luck sneaking up on this guy, because he has telescopic and night vision.
So he can see in the dark.
So he can see in the dark, and he can see like much greater distances than other people.
That's the thing, though, I still don't think that's better than a full 360 awareness of all danger forever.
But I think they've probably realised how broken Spidey Sense was, and in future comics have maybe decided to go, well, with our Spider-Man, we can make him a little less broken, because Spidey Sense you have to constantly write around to make it so that Spider-Man's weaker than he should be.
Also, that thing as well, like, it's a different interpretation of Spider-Man. He doesn't necessarily have to have the same power set, and it'd be more boring if he did.
Yes. One thing that makes him stand out a lot is the talons and fangs that we mentioned earlier. So he has elongated canine teeth that can secrete a paralyzing, though non-toxic venom. He also possesses talons at the tips of his fingers and toes that he uses to dig into surfaces, enabling to crawl along them like a spider might.
So he doesn't have the wall crawling capability of Spider-Man. He has to crawl with his claws. Okay, that's interesting.
And so they're razor sharp, and coupled with his great strength, are able to rend materials as durable as cinder blocks.
Which would be pretty impressive, but there's that shot of original Spider-Man lifting an entire building. I would like to say as well, you've missed out on the telescopic night vision thing. I read it and went, early on, Miguel took to wearing sunglasses at all times. Of course, the guy from the 90s wore sunglasses at night.
Yeah.
Of course, they could draw him wearing Ray-Bans.
That is something I did miss in. But yeah, of course.
He wore sunglasses because, of course, they want to draw the character. The character in the 90s has got to, like, wear sunglasses, red and black.
He's got, like, the cool jacket over the top in the, like, first profile picture.
He's got his leather jacket.
He uses on Tinder. He's got, like, his leather jacket and sunglasses. Always at ready. And then another thing that, like, obviously separates him is that he's got organic webbing.
This is a huge argument. Where do you fall? Do you think Spider-Man should have organic webbing, or do you prefer when he makes his own?
I don't really have a preference, honestly. I know it's more comic accurate for Peter Parker to make his own webbing, but I'm not too bothered. I think both interpretations are fine.
I just don't like that the most iconic feature of a spider is the one thing Spider-Man cannot do without outside help. Like,
obviously, I also like the fact that him having the knowledge of the DNA of a spider makes it so that he can realize how to make it himself.
Yeah, so if people don't know, in the comics, the reason that only Spider-Man can make web fluid and no one else can seem to replicate it is they say that when he was bitten by the spider, it ingrained upon him the ability to make it. So he just innately knows how to make it, and that's why no one else can.
Which is, funny bullshit way to explain it away.
Is that, like, more, like, is that any less convoluted than he just makes it inside his own body and flies it at his wrist?
No, but it does mean that Spider-Man can have things like shock webs and, silly different interpretations of the webs rather than just the organic webbing.
It also means that he can run out, which is something every time they want to make a Spider-Man comic or TV show, we need to add some danger, he runs out of web fluid. Like, if I was Spider-Man, I'd have a fucking duffel bag full of that shit.
It's always, my Spidey sense isn't working, or I ran out of web fluid.
How could you ever run out?
Yeah.
Why would you ever let yourself run out? Why would you not at all? Like, do you know what those Nerf bullet jackets you can get? You ever seen those jackets that have, like, bandolier? Do you know bandoliers with, like, bullets in them?
Yeah.
How has he not got one of them on at all times? The amount of times it fucks him up.
I don't know. Because, normally you see he's got, like, a couple of pockets on a belt, maybe. Like, that's maybe the extent he's got, but, yeah, you would think that all of his backpacks would just be, like, full of them and on every single building in the city.
Especially given how, like, useful and integral to his fighting style it is.
Mm-hmm. And it does say here that I think the only real difference is that, unlike the original Spider-Man, O'Hara's webs are organic and chemically identical to real spider silk.
Which might make them stronger, because that's the thing they always say, like, spider silk, by weight, is stronger than steel. If you could get, like, and think in your head, folks, at home, a steel cable, the thickness of, like, a piece of rope that Spider-Man's throwing out of his wrist, could theoretically hold up an elevator.
Spider silk is just ridiculously strong, and that's why it makes Spider-Man such a strong character.
Yeah, and it's why it's always hilarious when you have people break out. Like, you have regular dudes break out of it. It's like, there's no fucking way. There's no fucking way you're ever breaking out of that shit.
I do find it interesting, though, because if it's identical to real spider silk, does that mean that it doesn't dissolve over time like Spider-Man's does? So that when he leaves people on the street, just wrapped up in it, and he's like, don't worry, like, in 12 hours you'll be fine. It's like, he just leaves them for dead if they're not found. Like,
does that also mean as well that it's really difficult to get through? Because it'd be sticky.
Yeah.
Like, Joe, when you walk through a cobweb.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate that.
And then Miguel's abilities are, similar to Peter Parker. Here of just a genius-level intellect, skilled hand-to-hand combatant, computer skills, and marksmanship.
Wait, what?
It just says Spider-Man was able to hit a hostile target holding a hostage multiple times with a pistol, with a bullet only grazing the hostage, which means he's got a pretty good shot.
Thing is, though, I don't like the idea of Spider-Man using a gun. Not because I don't think Spider-Man should use a gun, but because that's terrifying.
He's already too powerful.
Yeah. Can you just imagine, though, if you're fighting Spider-Man and then he just whips out dual magnums?
He just gives up. He's like, fuck you.
Can you imagine, like, just Spider-Man with a sniper rifle? How scary would that be?
And then we go on to his weaknesses, which are a bit different because of his changes in powers. As you say, his eyes were very sensitive to light.
Yeah.
So he wears sunglasses to manage this issue when out of costume.
That's so lame.
Also, it helps hide the red hue of his eyes post-mutation. And I was about to say, I wonder whether the red eyes was a thing to make sure that he's not got that weakness anymore, but clearly not.
No.
Or maybe it is, and now that maybe he doesn't have that weakness post-mutation, but now the reason to wear sunglasses is because he's got red eyes. That seems also possible. It doesn't say here. Speech difficulty, though. As Spider-Man, Miguel has the use of fangs, which produce the venom. However, the downside of these fangs is that he can't retract them. This is a flaw that Miguel hides. However, the only problem is quite hard for him to speak and hide his fangs at the same time.
It's no wonder he's constantly trying to attack people. He must be so pissed off. Like, do you think he'd get away with just saying, I'm a really big fan of Dr. Michael Morbius?
Just
convince people that he's really into Twilight. That he wears contact lenses and fake fangs.
And he kind of got another one here of concentration. It's like, Miguel's talents are retractable, but he needs to maintain consistent mental and physical concentration to keep them retracted. This can cause problems should his focus be disrupted while holding onto objects or people.
Oh man, he's walking out the street holding his girlfriend's hand, and then she just says, I think we should see other people.
Through the hand. Oh god. Yeah, if his spinnerets were to be blocked or held by something with sufficient strength, he would also be unable to spin his webs.
Yeah.
So again, another way to make him not have webs if we need to.
He's wearing a watch by accident, and he just...
A little bit of trivia to end on over here, Carl. Miguel's web cape may have been an adaptation of the cape worn by Captain Spider.
Captain Spider sounds awesome.
Do you know who Captain Spider is?
I want to click his thing. Oh, he's just a guy wearing a Spider-Man suit.
It's Flash Thompson, Spider-Man.
I've got a quote from him here. You know my name, now meet my fists.
Oh no, just boring Spider-Man. Oh, okay, so yeah, Miguel's costume, contrary to popular belief, was originally black, but appears blue due to colouring errors. Later on, his costume stopped being described as black and was instead changed to blue to avoid confusion. So he did start out with the edgy colour scheme.
Is that why with Batman, where they put blue accents on it, and then people get thinking like his costume was blue, and it's like, no, blue, dark blue is just a good accent for black, otherwise it's impossible to discern detail.
Yeah, it's hard to show different levels of lighting on a black outfit.
Yeah, so normally you colour it dark blue and use black for accents.
And this is great because when we were talking about edgy designs, when Miguel confronted Venom, the latter thought that Miguel had stolen his suit design. So Venom's like, why the fuck are you stealing my suit?
It's like, there's only one black Spider-Man and it's me. Let's go.
So just, yeah. I think that's, the best we've got there with the trivia, but just, I love the fact that he's so edgy that Venom thought he'd stolen his suit design.
It's like, you've been jacking my style. My style.
Thank you everyone for joining, and I'm very excited to go watch Across the Spider-Verse and see like how many choke slams Miguel O'Hara can get on everyone else.
If he's not doing that like pile driver from the Empire State Building you're doing Spider-Man 2, what is the point? Do you know that one where you just spinning pile driver with Spider-Man and you do it from like the top at Twin Towers and you're like, yeah.
Yeah, that was incredible. And then they just kind of get a third of the health bar taken off.
I'll never forget when I did that to a guy and just like I hit him and he stood back up and went, "Is that all you've got, Spider-Man?" And I ran away.
Yes, that is all I have. That is the most Spider-Man I have.
So you got spinning pile drivers from the lower orbit and he just took it like an absolute man. I've never witnessed an NPC who's had bigger balls.
Oh, please Oscarize it, make it happen.